Namaste and good morning. We will start with the session, Naringa.
Namaste.
Namaste to all the students from the Himalayan Yoga Association here. We will start directly. First, I will chant an opening mantra and one Om before we begin with our syllabus. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Inhale. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much. Let us start now. What we have studied yesterday, the names and the location with the diagrammatic representation of the muscles of the major group of muscles, not all the muscles. We cannot draw here all the 650 muscles on the whiteboard. So we have seen the major group of muscles. Now, today, we will see the muscular motion and movement of the musculoskeletal bone joints. So, in what range of motion and what movement these muscles and bones can be moving. So, in what range of motions these bone joints can move, and how is the movement? That means which muscles are getting engaged in the joints when we move our bone joint. So we start with the first joint, that is our shoulder joint. We will start with directly our first shoulder joint, the one of the important joints. So here I will write musculoskeletal movements. Of joints. The first one, can you see the whiteboard clearly?
Yes.
Okay. Shoulder joint. Because even I hope that is not bright too much. So the shoulder joint here. So in what movement our shoulder joint can move? We can move. So the first move. Yes.
We can move it in circular movement.
We can move in our circular movement as well. Yes, you are right. But we will also first begin with the movement, that is the flexion movement. So the first movement I will write down here is the flexion movement. In the flexion movement, how is the flexion movement of the shoulder joint? That means when we bring the arm straight in the front, that is our flexion movement. When we bring the arm straight in the front, that means we move the arm from the shoulder joint, that flexion of the arm. So when we flex our arm, then which muscles do get engaged. That means our anterior deltoid muscle. So when we bring the arm in the front, this is our flexion movement of our shoulder joint. This is our anterior deltoid. The muscle over is getting engaged. That means we contract our anterior deltoid along with we contract the upper region of the pectoralis major muscle. So write down the two names of the muscles here. The upper deltoid or anterior deltoid. These are the major muscles which help to move our arm in the front. So these muscles helps to move our arm in the front. And superior region of pectoralis major muscle. Superior region of the pectoralis major muscle. Visible? Is it visible?
Yeah, all okay.
Yes. So this is your first flexion movement of the shoulder. Similarly, we have the shoulder extension movement. So in lots of posture, we have to bring our arms in the front. That means we need to make our flexion of the arms. That time we engage or contract our deltoids and the pectoralis major muscles, which allow to flex our arms. Similarly, we do have the extension movement. So shoulder extension of the shoulder joint. What muscles will help to extend our arm from the shoulder joint? That muscles are posterior deltoid,
So extension is when we raise our arms to the side?
no, extension means when we take our arm at the back.
Ah, okay.
Flexion means when we take our arm in the front. Extension when we take our arm at the back. So we extend our arm at the back. That time, what happens in this action? Whenever we take our arm back, like we have the locust pose, locust, shalbhasan, when we lie down on the abdomen, interlock the fingers on the back, extend the arm, raise it, our torso up. That time we work on our posterior deltoids as well up above, as well as we work on the latissimus dorsi muscle. So latissimus dorsi, we have seen yesterday. Where is this muscle? Our lats at this side. These are our lats here at this side on our back. So these muscles get contract when you will take your arms back, the latissimus dorsi at the side of your back along with the posterior deltoid. Posterior deltoid means deltoid on the shoulder, but posterior side, that means at the back. This region of the deltoid will get engaged and allow our arm to get extended. Okay. Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I will say if I don't understand. I don't keep quiet.
Yeah. So this is our extension of our, sorry. Now we will proceed further. We have also some movement. So like of the shoulder joint only we will see today about horizontal flexion. So what is horizontal flexion, or we can say horizontal adduction? So now I will write horizontal flexion. What does this mean? Horizontal flexion or
So maybe
horizontal?
when we take the arm to the side?
When we take the arm in the front first, that is our flexion.
Yeah.
So now what is horizontal flexion? That means from the center in this neutral position of the arm, from this neutral position of the arm, when we bring it inside.
Ah, okay.
This is horizontal flexion, and when we bring it outside, this is horizontal extension. So our shoulder joint can move horizontally, flexion and horizontal extension. I will write these two terms. Then I will write its muscles. Horizontal flexion and horizontal extension. So there are the major muscles in horizontal flexion movement is the pectoralis major muscles of the chest, which will originate from the sternum, the ribs and the clavicle and end up in our humerus, in our arm. So that will allow our arm to flex horizontally. So here I will just write the major muscles, not all the muscles. The major is pectoralis, which allows our arm to flex horizontally. And in horizontal extension, which muscles get engaged or allows it, that is the trapezius muscle. That is our trapezius muscle. Where is our trapezius muscle?
At the back, the traps.
At the back, the trap, which originates also from the cervical region and the thoracic region and will end up in our humerus. So this is our trapezius at the back. When we extend the arm at the side, you will feel the contraction of the trapezius muscle and you will bring your both the arms to the side. Extend your arms from the front to the side. You will extend your traps. So whenever you or there is a superset or the set or the people who work out in the gym, so to develop their traps, what exercise they do? They have an equipment in the gym to extend their shoulder like this to engage their back muscles or to build up their back muscles. So now you will get it or the people will get it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the shoulder movements. Up till now, we have seen flexion in the front, extension in the back, horizontal flexion inside, horizontal extension outside from the midline. Now, we will see 4 more movements and its muscle engagement with the shoulder joint. So why it is called the ball and socket joint? Because this shoulder joint will move in all the directions. So this shoulder joint is also an example of ball and socket joint. Can I erase these things now?
Mm-hmm.
Next, A, B, C, D, E. I will write here, and the next term will be abduction first, and we have adduction as well. So abduction and adduction of the shoulder joints. So what is the abduction and the adduction of the shoulder joints here? Abduction and adduction. To abduct means what? We need to move our arm away from the midline of the body. So if we are standing like this in a straight, so we need to move our arm away from the midline. This is abduction. And what is adduction?
Move
When we
towards.
bring hello, am I audible?
Yes, you was free. You was frozen for a little bit, but now okay.
Yes, I was frozen because the electricity is no more at my place now. It is just went off. So my
Oh,
Wi-Fi connection was lost. But anyway, I have much data on my mobile, so it will help, hopefully. Okay, so this is what? Horizontal abduction and horizontal adduction towards the midline. Namaste and good morning, Johnny. We are learning here some of the joints and the muscle and its movements.
Namaste, namaste, sir.
Now, in
so
the
question.
horizontal, yes?
So when we say the shoulder abduction or adduction, do we have to say horizontal or just abduction or adduction is enough?
Yeah, just shoulder abduction is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just shoulder abduction and shoulder adduction.
Okay.
Yeah, shoulder horizontal flexion, shoulder horizontal extension.
Mm-hmm.
But if we move the arm like this from outside, this is shoulder abduction and shoulder adduction. Then, this shoulder abduction, there are some muscles like medial deltoid. We have medial deltoid and supraspinatus muscle. What is the medial deltoid? Deltoid is on our shoulder. So this is anterior deltoid in the front side. This is posterior deltoid on the back side. And this muscle is our medial deltoid. So this is a triangular shape of the deltoid in a triangle shape. This muscle, the medial deltoid, will help allow our arm to abduct. That means to move away from the midline of the body along with the supraspinatus muscle. That means the supraspinatus is located just here below the deltoid. Just below the deltoid, we have the supraspinatus muscle. Supra means above actually, but it is located below the deltoid and above our latissimus dorsi muscle. So supraspinatus and infraspinatus, these are two muscles where supraspinatus muscles will allow the shoulder abduction movement and infraspinatus muscle here will allow the neck movement, that is below the shoulder adduction. So here in the shoulder adduction, infraspinatus muscles will also help, but the major muscle is our inferior pectoralis major muscle. So inferior pectoralis major in the shoulder adduction, along with we have latissimus dorsi muscle. So latissimus dorsi muscle, again, we already have seen the latissimus dorsi muscle, where it is located, and what is inferior pectoralis major. That means inferior side means below. Pectoralis major is our chest muscle, but not the superior, not the above region of the chest, but the below region of the chest will allow to contract. So when it contracts the inferior pectoralis major muscle, our arm is towards the midline of the body. That means we adduct our shoulder. Okay. For people in the gyms or people who do the workout, they have the cables. If they pull the cables inside, they adduct their inferior pectoralis major muscles as well with the help of this set. Also, there are some postures which allow so that adduction of the shoulders, like we have the eagle pose where we can adduct the shoulder joint when we bring our arms together towards the medial side of our body. Okay, likewise. Then we will speak about the next. That means our shoulder joint can also move. Yes, I think that.
So abduction, for example, if let's say we are doing the, the namaste.
Warrior.
No, namaste arms and our back, reverse namaste.
Yeah,
So this can be taught, this is abduction, right? Away from.
No, this is towards the midline of the body only. Even if our arms are in front, even if our arms are at the back, the arm is not away from the shoulder joint. So when these arms are away from the shoulder joint, that is abduction movement. So when it will be like in the triangle pose or posture, when we bring the arms to the side, taking distance in between the legs, then this is abduction movement. So this is adduction only towards the midline. So from here, if we create a space, then we have abduction. When we move it away, when we keep it in only, whether it is front or back, it is adduction only towards the midline.
Yeah, got it.
Now we have the next medial rotation for the shoulder joint, and we also have the lateral rotation for the shoulder joint. So shoulder joint, as you said, can move in circular movement. So that medial rotation and lateral rotation here, there are muscles. Pectoralis major muscle, again the muscle of the chest, helps to allow the shoulder rotate inside. Medial means internal rotation, lateral means external rotation. Along with pectoralis major, we have subscapularis muscle. Subscapularis muscle is located at the back, where it is starting from the scapula, our shoulder blade, and it is ending in our upper arm humerus. So subscapularis muscle, sub means again beneath, below. So below the supraspinatus and above the infraspinatus, we have subscapularis muscles available, which allows our medial rotation, inside rotation of the shoulder joint. Lateral rotation of the shoulder joint is how, or from which muscle it can helpful? With the infraspinatus muscle and we have along with teres minor muscle. Teres muscle, that means a round muscle. Teres is orbit, in the orbit, a round shape of the muscle. This teres minor muscles located just at the above the lats. This also teres minor muscles will help to move our shoulder joint completely away from the midline, lateral side. Okay, so we have only these motion and movement of the musculoskeletal joints. That means these are the actions in which our shoulder joint can be moved, and these are the muscles which help to move our shoulder joints in these actions. So what we have seen up till now, the shoulder flexion, the shoulder extension, shoulder horizontal flexion, shoulder horizontal extension. Then we have seen shoulder abduction away, shoulder adduction towards the midline. Then we have seen the shoulder medial rotation in, shoulder lateral rotation out, and the muscles engaged during these actions. For the shoulder joint, one of the ball and socket joint. Okay.
Mhm.
Now we will move with the next joint. So after the shoulder joint in our arm, we have the next elbow. So this is our elbow joint. Can I read this thing?
Yes.
Okay. Now we will see about the elbow. For the elbow, what are the movements and how many movements our elbow can move? Can we? Yes.
Extension, flexion.
Yeah. So we have the flexion and extension movement of our elbow. Correct. So what is the elbow flexion? Flexion. When we decrease the angle, is all flexion. When we decrease the angle in between two parts, that is flexion. What are the major muscles in the elbow flexion? That is our biceps brachii muscle. That means towards our arm, our biceps. We have brachioradialis muscle, and we have brachialis muscles. So we have brachioradialis and brachialis are the muscles in our arms. At the side, brachialis muscles. In the center, we have the biceps with the two heads. So when we flex our arm, flexion of the arm from the elbow joint, that means to contract or to show the biceps are getting contracted is what? With the flexion movement. So these muscles allows the flexion of the elbow joint. Now, can you tell me what will be the major muscle in the elbow extension?
Pronator teres and brachioradialis.
I
Biceps.
repeat. Yes, Johnny. So we have, when we will extend our elbow, what muscles will be getting contracted here? Triceps brachii muscles or our triceps. That means they are at the back. So they get contracted on the back of our upper arm. Along with, we have one smaller muscle, anconeus muscle. So anconeus muscle, even if I have not shown you yesterday, it is slightly over here near the elbow joint, which allows when we extend the arm, it also gets contract. Just below the tricep, we have one anconeus muscle. So these two muscles help our elbow to extend it completely. These two muscles get extended.
What about
Contracted.
the forearm muscles? They are not used when we extend the arm.
No.
Oh, okay.
We are not saying about the arm. We are saying about the elbow joint. We are working on the arm, but about the elbow joint.
No, but
So
I'm just thinking, if I extend my elbow,
yes,
you know, extend my elbow, I feel my forearm muscles as well.
you will not contract your forearm muscles here.
Maybe
You
because
will,
I've done so many chaturangas, that's why I feel it.
so yes, so you do the chaturanga. That time you not only work on the elbow joint. That time you also work, or we also work on the wrist joint. So If you will move your wrist, then you
Yeah,
will
that,
work on the
yeah.
flexors and the extensors. So in Chaturanga, you keep our palms on the ground. Your arm is not like this straight. So if our arm, we bend from the wrist, then we have the forearm muscles getting engaged. Okay.
Because we the wrist joint. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are here now on the elbow joint. So in the elbow joint, we're keeping the wrist in the neutral position. Just extend the arm straight.
Yeah.
You will contract the tricep and the iliacus muscle. Also about the next, we have the pronation and supination of the elbow. What is the pronation? What is the supination? You tell me first. We have studied this, right?
When it's like twist halfway to away from the body and towards the body.
No. Pronation means prone posture. That means when our palms are facing down.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
So our palms are facing down. So how we face our palm down? When we rotate our elbow. So how to rotate our elbow? So this is our pivot joint. If you remember, we have also studied the bone joints after skeletal system. That times we have seen the movable bone joints, so ball and socket joint, hinge joint. Hinge means flexion, extension, and pivot. Pivot is twisting. So when we twist our elbow, that means we bring our palms down. So this pivot joint will allow the ulna and humerus joint is the pivot joint, will allow make our arm for the pronation and supination posture. This arm is not moving from the wrist. This arm is moving from the elbow here. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we will have the pronator teres major muscle and as well as the supinator muscle. So pronator teres will allow the elbow to do the prone posture and the supinator muscle will allow the elbow to do supine postures in our arm below the biceps and triceps. We have the pronator muscles and supinator group of muscles. Okay. So this is all about our elbow joint. Remember the movement at least. Not necessary if we don't remember all the muscles. With the practice and with the asanas, engagement of these muscles, we learn while we teach. So while we, as an instructor, will teach yoga and practice it with our students, that time it will be helpful or it will be easy for you to remember all these muscles. But these movement of the joints, we should at least remember as a beginner yoga instructor. The elbow joint will move flexion, extension, the pronation and supination. Got it? Can I erase these things about the elbow joint as well?
Yes, all good.
Next, in the arm, we have the wrist joint. Now we will see what Neringa was telling us about the wrist joint. So the action or the movement of the wrist joint. So we have palmar flexion, first action. We have dorsiflexion of the wrist and palmar flexion of the wrist. That I will tell you what is palmar flexion and what is dorsiflexion. So palmar flexion That means this is our palm, this is our hand. Palmar flexion is when we bring our wrist down. So when we point our fingers down, this is our palmar flexion. And what is the dorsiflexion of the wrist? When we point our fingers up, this is dorsiflexion. Flexion is what? When we decrease the angle between two parts. So in between our hand and in between our forearm, the radius bone, we decrease the angle, that is palmar flexion. Here also we decrease the angle, that means dorsiflexion. So in the palmar flexion, we have the major muscles, digitorium muscles, superficial. That means they are connected to the digits, to the fingers, are the digitorium muscles, along with the carpi ulnaris muscles. So in the palmar flexion movement, the digitorium superficial muscles get engaged along with the carpi ulnaris muscles. So the muscles which originate from the carpals, that means the wrist bones, and which end up or which inserts in the ulna bone. So where is the ulna bone? Here is your ulna bone. So carpi ulnaris muscles get engaged during palmar flexion. Whereas similarly, if we will do dorsiflexion, you will see this section gets engaged more. So that is your radius bone. That means your carpi radialis muscles will get engaged and contract more, or will allow to help your wrist with the dorsiflexion. So here as well, we have the digitorium muscles along with carpi radialis in the dorsiflexion movement of the wrist. In the palmar flexion movement of the wrist, carpi ulnaris to the ulna bone allows to do palmar flexion, radial muscles allows to do dorsiflexion. The next two movements of the wrist are radial abduction as well as the ulnar abduction. So two words, the radial abduction movement, or we can say radial side adduction, and we do have ulnar abduction. Here we see, don't get confused here in between abduction and abduction only, because radial abduction and ulnar abduction for the wrist is different. See, if this is your arm, if I will move, this is your midline, this is your fingers at the middle section. If you will see, this is your midline. If you will move your hand away from this midline, then that away from the midline means abduction movement. So we have radial abduction. So where is your radial bone? Towards the thumb side. If we will move away from the midline, this is the radial abduction of the wrist, where this is the neutral position, and ulnar abduction of the wrist is what? Away from the midline. This is the midline, this is radial abduction, this is the neutral, again midline, and ulnar abduction. Okay. So here as well, we have the abductors group of muscles. Along with the abductors group, there are the flexors group and extensors group of muscles, including the carpi radialis muscles. So flexors and extensors group of carpi radialis muscles will allow radial abduction movement. Carpi radialis muscles, we have flexors and extensors group of muscles in our forearms that will allow to abduct our wrist radially towards the midline. Now, ulnar abduction movement, again, we have the extensors group. So flexors and extensors group here of carpi ulnaris muscle. So we have the flexors and extensors group of muscles here in our forearms, connected with our palms, carpals, metacarpals with the digitorium superficials with the fingers, connected with the help of the ligaments and the tendons. Now, these flexors and extensor group of carpi ulnaris muscles will allow to abduct the arm from our forearm, ulnar or radially or ulnar abduction. So these are the only 4 movements of the wrist joint which we can move. So even when we say we can rotate our wrist, that means what do? We are doing first palmar flexion, then we are doing radial abduction, then we are doing dorsiflexion, then we are doing the ulnar abduction. So this is our rotation of the wrist in these 4 movements. So we have palmar flexion, then we have the radial abduction, then dorsiflexion and ulnar abduction. In this way, we can rotate our wrist clockwise and anti-clockwise. So I have not written here the rotation, this term. So these 4 movements only we can see. Cleared?
Clear?
Written down all things about all the bone joints in our arms. Okay. Is my video lagging or is it working well, the video, because the internet connection was lost due to the electricity?
For me, it's okay.
Okay. Good. So we have seen the shoulder joint, the ball and socket joint. We have also seen the elbow joint. We can also say elbow joint as hinge joint and pivot joint, where our wrist joint are made up of the multiple different irregular bones, carpals. So we have flexion, hinge joint, we have pivot, we can twist, lots of joints here you can say. There are also gliding joints. So gliding joint is also the example of the carpals and metacarpals. We can glide our wrist. So here you will find many joints in between each bone that allows hinge movement, pivot movement, gliding movement, also the rotating movement. But these are the actual actions with the musculoskeletal bone joints. Okay, we will see about the next couple of joints in our body in the tomorrow's session. So today we have completed with the arms in our body. So these movements will help, or you will know it when you will perform or practice Pavan Muktasana series 1. So we have one series in the Hatha Yoga practice or the warm up of our joints which we do. If we do it, we will know all the joints with its muscles with the practice. Any questions up to here?
No.
Okay. All good, Johnny?
Yes, sir. All good. Sir, I was thinking that you taught very well. Actually, I play guitar and I love dancing. So it will help me on that also. Twisting my that hand movement and elbows or wrist.
nice you play guitar. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
hard for me to play. I have a guitar, but I cannot
No,
play.
but you know, sir,
Okay.
yeah, the
Yes.
same psychology I have just learned from the famous guitarist Victor Wooten. He also says the same, how our wrist work, our elbows work, and all and that. So I just have that in my mind when you're teaching that the same thing I will apply on my guitar too.
Yes, yes. Thanks so much. So the application of this anatomy is not only helpful in the yoga, we can see, we can,
So creativity
thank you so
also.
much, Sonny. Yeah,
Okay, sir.
with all the activities. Please
Namaste.
do it and keep in consistency whatever you practice, whatever you love, whatever you have your hobbies in your life. Keep that consistency so that you won't lack in your practice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Thank
sure,
you
sir.
so much.
Thank you,
We
sir.
will
So,
chant Om one time and end the class.
okay.
Take a long breath, inhale, back and spine straight, and chant it one time. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you so much. Namaste, Hari Om to both of you.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Tomorrow, bye.